Hello. Hi. My name is Susan Lynch, and I am a user experience researcher here at Salesforce, and I work on the Sales Cloud. And what that means is I collect data from users, and I collect this data to have it be front and center in the design and development process to make sure that the user's needs are being heard and met. So today what I'm going to talk to you about is how you can assess your organization for top mobile use cases so you can go back and build mobile apps that your end users will love. One thing I do want to call out is you may be going to sessions or hear about breakout sessions where they talk about out-of-the-box solutions. So just know that what I talk about today, you can actually add to an out-of-the-box solution in some kind of customization. All right, so I'm sure you've seen this 1,000 times, but I will let you know again that we are a publicly traded company, and please make your buying decisions on what is available out in the commercial marketplace right now. Okay, so, and I do want to preface this presentation with I am going to be focusing on the mobile phone device. So when I say mobile, I am referring to the mobile phone. So how do you decide what you want to build for mobile, on mobile for your users? And if you do know what to build for them, how did you come to that decision? And how are you making prioritizations on what to build first and what to build next and so on and so forth? So I'm going to give you 3 steps that you can use to assess your organization for their top mobile use cases. So the first one is around preparing your organization, knowing what you're actually solving for. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what is your business trying to achieve? So gathering business requirements, this is pretty straightforward. The second step is, great, now that I know my business requirements, how am I going to actually build that out for users? So it's really critical and imperative to understand what the user's needs are and how users want to use the mobile phone in their own workflows. So getting data on mobile workflows and understanding user needs is actually a lot of work. And the good news is that we've done a lot of the work for you at user research here at Salesforce. So you can actually take our research, bring it back to your organization, and use it and apply it there where appropriate. And you can think of it as a starting point to understanding your users. So the first thing, again, that I'm going to talk about is why business goals and why it's really important to think about your business goals, but also align them with your end user goals. So for orientation purposes, this is step 1 out of the 3-step process we're going to talk about. So your business goals. So before you go out there and build that mobile app, what is your business trying to achieve? You have to ask yourself this question and ask what are they trying to achieve and what is that problem that we're trying to solve for? So an example of a business goal could be, as easy as, well, not as easy as, but let's say that the business comes to you and says, okay, we want to increase revenues for this quarter by a certain percentage. So the question becomes, how can the mobile device help your end users achieve this business goal? So someone in the sales department might come back to you and say, oh, okay, well, great, you want to increase revenues and for this quarter. So what that means is myself and my team, we actually have to close deals faster while we're out on the road. And the question here is, well, how does that translate? So when you say close deals faster while out on the road with your mobile phone, what does that actually mean? So what are the features that you have to think about? And what is the prioritization of those features as you think about building them out? So it's critical to understand their workflow here and understand what the user's goals are and balance them with that business goal. So by understanding the workflow, it allows you to empathize with the user, and you can think about and see and hear their frustrations and the pain points, so you can hopefully avoid those as you build out your app. So as you balance these business and user goals, it's informing what you should build, it's helping you prioritize what you're building, and then you can actually track what you built to see if it's successful or not. So whatever features that you're building and you think you're prioritizing, you can actually run reports or create dashboards to see, okay, well, great, they are using this one feature pretty often and frequently as much as we thought, or maybe they're not using this feature, what's wrong with this feature? So you can go back and figure out what to iterate upon and how to make it better. All right, so now we've talked a bit about the importance of balancing those user goals and those business goals. So let's talk about how we can now better think about meeting the mobile user needs for salespeople in particular. I work on Sales Cloud, so I'm going to be talking about sales folks here. So we're going to talk about the discovery that you can use to understand your end users. And this is the second part of the 3-step process. And here, it's important to understand what your end user's mobile context is. And some of you may have heard the phrase mobile moments. And when I think about mobile moments, I actually think about how you snack on your mobile phone throughout the day. So you can think about, okay, from the sales user perspective, how are they snacking? How are they taking little bites of information throughout the day to access their CRM? Because context is everything in mobile. And if you understand your sales end users' mobile context, then you can provide a relevant experience. And you can think of this as sort of a 3 factors framework here, and I'll explain what this is in just a second. So the first one is time. As you're understanding the mobile context of your end user, how much time do they have is a big question. And this is where you can define what that mobile moment is actually like, because 10 seconds can be very different from a 30-second experience, and it could be completely different tasks. And you hope that 30 seconds, it doesn't take 30 seconds to complete a 10-second class, 10-second task, because then you might be in trouble. So, you know, when you have how much time is available to them, how much data are they wanting to access here at this point? And what are the expectations of the sales end user as they're accessing their mobile device on the go? The second one is location. So location is really important as you think about, okay, I understand now I've got X number of seconds or minutes. Where am I located? Where is that user located? So are they in the car? If they're a field sales rep, they probably spend a lot of time outside of the office in a car. And that can have an impact on hands-free or hands-on, because we hope that they're not tapping the phone and driving at the same time. Do they have extra spare time, and are they able to hang out in a coffee shop before their next meeting and, you know, read some articles and take a few minutes to catch up on relevant business news or emails or things like that? Or are they potentially in front of a client where device etiquette actually starts to become kind of a big deal, specifically with sales end users as they're in the role, because it's very important stylistically for some salespeople to keep eye contact with their client. So they're not going to be doing this on their phone and taking notes when they're trying to maintain rapport and so on and so forth. So device etiquette can come into play too. You also have to think about things like type of connectivity. So if I'm out and about in the field, I'm driving along, I'm going through hills, and I'm trying to get directions, am I going to lose out? Am I going to time out? Do I have to be dependent on a Wi-Fi connection? Is that part of the experience? Or can I rely on 3G? We know that with mobile, especially, the consumer apps have kind of set the bar for speed and performance and things like that. So connectivity is a big deal. And then the number of steps to the data and the kinds of interactions that you have for the features, these are all part of what location can impact. And then finally, tasks. So what are they actually trying to accomplish? So we know the time it takes to they have, and we know where they're located, but what is it that they're trying to accomplish? So this can help you build and prioritize, because you can think about it in terms of short and long-term optimization. So for example, if intelligence, artificial intelligence has to be to prompt users while they're in the car is something that they want, is something that they're telling you is a key need because they spend a lot of time in the car. Maybe you can't build the perfect product at the very beginning, but what does that MVP look like? And how do you continuously iterate and continuously touch base and understand what else you need to add to a specific feature or interaction? So you can think about these things as a framework to understand more of the holistic context of the end user's mobile needs. And the place where context really matters is how it impacts the data that you're eventually going to surface to the users. And it's important to keep in mind, too, that you're likely not going to be turning everything on in mobile. But it's important to pick and choose which things that we really have to focus on and turn on for them as they're out and about. So how do we, take this context and apply it? So the first thing, asking your sales users how they engage with Salesforce on mobile. So the question is really, well, who is using mobile most frequently? And how is it a part of their workflow? So in this example, I'm going to be using a field sales service rep. So questions that you can ask are around how in-depth is their task and how are they inputting and retrieving data and what's most important. And going back to the framework, this is all related to the time, the location, and what it is they're trying to accomplish. So things like, if I just want to get contact information or the address, I just want a quick snack of that information. What does that look like? And I might not always have Wi-Fi when I'm with me in the office. And maybe after I go from meeting to meeting, I want to log the calls while I'm on the go. So these are some needs that they have that they might be expressing to you. And one of the ways to kind of discover and uncover this is actually going out and talking to the user. So spending 15 minutes with them at their desk to really get an understanding of, okay, well, how are you using? What are the pitfalls? What are the ways that you really wish and want to use your mobile device out there? And one of our admin evangelists actually calls this, he uses an acronym called SABWA. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it stands for, because I'm going to throw another acronym at you, Sales Admin by Walking Around. So just going from user to user and really understanding how they are using or what their needs and goals are. And I would also say that if you're hearing what these user requirements might be from a manager or from an executive, I would also encourage you to follow up with the real end users to hear what their needs are and what they're saying. So I talked a little bit about the business goals and the balance of that with the user goals, and then focusing on how to get and extract user needs. And getting user needs and understanding their workflows, their key workflows, actually takes a lot of work. And it's what I spend my time doing in my job. So getting this in-depth understanding and the nuances is really time-consuming. So we actually have a shortcut for you here at Salesforce. Our user researchers can provide a starting point and a foundation to build upon. And this is the last step of this 3-step process that I'll talk about. And this is where you can actually leverage the Salesforce research that we've already done. And I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the persona cards. I've got some up here, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But what we've created are personas, and these are your real users. And we've created these across 6 different product clouds, and they're data-driven. So as you can see, we've surveyed thousands of respondents who participated in our surveys. We've observed end users by going on site to visit them and actually follow them around throughout the day as they use their mobile phone to really see how they're interacting with it and discover what the nuances are and what some pains and frustrations are and what is sort of the cocktail of apps that they're using to complete their daily workflows. So I'm going to talk again about sales, but we also have these available for service and communities and marketing and analytics and so forth. So the Salesforce UX personas, the Sales Cloud personas, there's 5 of them for Sales Clouds. And these provide you with a snapshot of behaviors for the different user types. So when I say different user types, it means we have someone who is a field sales rep, and we have a sales manager, and we have someone who focuses on sales operations. It's important to note, too, that the personas can overlap within the organization. So depending on the kind of org you have, and it could be small to medium-sized business to enterprise, but some persona or some users may wear multiple persona hats. So a team leader can also be a sales manager, can also be someone who generates leads or someone who goes out in the field to close deals. And the way in which you would use persona cards would be to take a look at it. Again, it's a snapshot. And you can see that, okay, people in general are logging calls, they're updating records, they're working their pipeline. And this is what we call a deal closer, a field service rep, in-field service representative. And you can also see that they spend a lot of time outside of the office. So the question starts to become, what does this actually mean for mobile? And you can take this card for each persona and really determine, well, how can I delve further into understanding how they use mobile, particularly if they're not tethered to their desk and they're away from their office. So we actually, and one thing I do want to mention too is personas are not profiles. So when you think about building out your profiles, the personas are, you can think about using them as the types of users that have like the permission sets that you have to create and the workflow rules and things like that you have to create for your users. So we went out in the field and we met with, we did the analysis and we met with the deal closers, which are the in-field sales reps, because we saw that these people are the ones that spend the most time outside of the office and they're most apt to use their phone on a daily basis. And these are just some examples of some insights that we garnered in order, from accessing task lists and calendars to accessing contact data, address, name, and number are some examples. And when I talked earlier about snacking on the mobile phone, this is kind of how they're doing it. They just want to go in and grab a quick snack of information. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be this long, drawn-out, 2 or 3 minute task, hopefully. If they're just going in for address, they want to go in and then they want to get out. They want to log a call, they want to log it, put some notes in, but it should be pretty quick because they have multiple meetings throughout the day when they're out in the field, and going from meeting to meeting takes, they just don't have a lot of time to record this stuff. So, in essence, in summary, we talked about these 3 things. Knowing what you're solving for. So again, aligning the business goals and the user goals together, doing the discovery to really get a deeper understanding of your user needs, and then leveraging the research that we've actually already done to help you along the way. So let's talk about a call of action that you can use from these 3 steps. You can go ahead and create a user story, and many of you might, or some of you might be doing this already, especially if you're doing Agile, but you can think of this as a user requirements document. And it gives you focus on what you want to build and what you want to prioritize for whatever it is that, that you're going to build for your end user. And in the user story, you can actually go out and validate the key words. So thinking about, as this person, as this field sales reps, the things that they want to do, and then the justification that follows it. So being very clear and precise on that. We have trails available to you that you can go and use and see, and the persona trail actually goes through all of our personas, and it gives you more context on how to use them. The UX Research Basics trail allows you to, or helps you, I should say, create a plan, a research plan, how to interview users and how to do the analysis, and then go forth and present it. If you're interested, we also have a customer research program that we would love to get feedback from you on. And one last thing about this slide, if you turn around, Camp Design is right behind you. You can get these persona cards. I have a few of them here, but you can get them, and there are researchers and designers there that can help you. They can just give some more context and more explanation around the different clouds. So in summary, this is what we talked about today. and we talked about a lot, but the most important thing would be to make sure that, again, you're aligning your user and business goals, and you're making the business goal translate seamlessly into that user goal. You're leveraging the personas as a starting point, and from there, focusing on mobile to really figure out what those top use cases are. I will be around if you have any questions. I've got some cards here. Thank you for listening.